The communication on this subject has been horrible, to put it lightly. I mean, we know about delays, we know about impending storms coming, we know about WPIL championship basketball games. I found this meeting from an email that somebody sent me. So I sit back and I say, I must be missing something. There's got to be something else going on here.
It's not about one or the other. It's about the welfare of children in general. I have worked with children for well over 20 years. I have been a teacher, I have been a minister, and I have seen the harm that can be caused by parents and adults' rash decisions. I have counseled children through things that they have gone through that is absolutely absurd. Not just bullying, but more extensive things like rape. You're opening a door, and I want to know at what point does the due process get started here where there has to be a permission slip signed by parents saying, you know what, we agree to this thing with the bathroom. We agree to allow this to be open. When did we lose our rights? These are our children. Whether they are transgender or whether they are not, they are all our children. They are minors. And it is our responsibility, not only as parents, not only as a community, not only as the school and the school board. It is your responsibility and my responsibility to shelter those children and protect them, to guard their innocence and not allow harm to become to them.
If this is some type of scholastic activism, it doesn't need to be. We are a community that embraces people of every walk of life. I know the father of a child that is going through this situation, and I consider him a friend. I've coached with him. He's coached my son. He is a wonderful, wonderful man. I would never say anything ill about him or his family or his child or anybody. Why do you want to make it a divisive situation? I don't get it.
I, too, just heard about this meeting 2 hours ago, thanks to a neighbor of mine who sent me an email with a link showing everything that happened at the last meeting. And in discussion with my daughter, her concerns were about these unisex bathrooms. She said one of those bathrooms is located by the Family Consumer Science Hall, and it has multiple stalls. So I just want to make sure that it's heard that just hearing that there's multiple stalls, a male and a female can go in there. I feel like that can be just such a huge corruption of a bathroom. I feel like that one should be locked and not even be used. She had some wonderful points about just that there's no privacy there, and it's a very scary things can happen. And we know, we've had things happen in this school district that shocked me, that we can't not ignore bad things happening, and I think it's obvious what I'm saying. You know,
I don't think any of these kids who are trying to determine where they're going to fall with this gender identity, where they're going to decide they are, because really this is an exploration phase at this age. Exploration. They have not committed to the decision. There's a reason that medical doctors will not perform those surgeries until over the age of 18. There's a reason for that. They're not ready. I don't believe that those kids should be placed in bathrooms with other males. They're not comfortable with that. That's more trauma for them. That's not okay. But it's also not okay for our daughters to have boys that are still physically male in their bathrooms. And if it means we revamp the situation in the bathrooms and we install new bathrooms, if the school feels so strongly about it, then maybe that's something that we do to respect everybody's rights. At this point in time, in my opinion, you're placing the rights of one gender, one minority, unfortunately they still are a minority, but you are placing their rights above other people. You're opening yourself up for a lot of litigation as well with boys in bathrooms with girls.
That takes. So I, too, would like to acknowledge the parents of the transgender kids, because hats off to you for having the guts and the love and the ability to allow your kids to be who they want to be and who they believe they are. I'll look at the glass half full and I'll say hats off to you, board, for trying to make an accommodation, although I think you went a little bit too far.
My middle school daughter is absolutely terrified to use the restroom and the gym changing room right now. My concern is this: I have to fill out a permission slip in order to allow her to go on a trip, to participate in a sport, to do any extracurricular activities, or anything else that is going to pertain to her safety, her well-being. I have to sign off on waivers, letting her be, even play in sports, so that I'm not going to hold the school liable if she would get harmed. So now where are you signing off on putting my child at risk?
Unless something else is going on here that I don't understand, are we looking for a bigger end game? Are we looking to prove something? Are we looking to get ourselves out there so that, wow, look at Pine-Richland, look what they're doing. Look who implemented this. There's a simple solution. These extreme minority of people who my heart aches for, let them use their own bathroom. There's plenty of bathrooms in this facility. Give them their own key. This is your bathroom. Don't take that as we're singling them out. They have to use this bathroom. Let them know that we understand that they're going through something, and we want to give them peace. We want to give them privacy. We want to give them a place where they feel comfortable, where they don't have to look over their shoulder, where they don't have to wonder, am I going to get a sneer? Am I going to get a look? Is somebody going to accuse me of molesting them or giving them a bad look? It's simple. Why are we doing this?
So I think what's really important is that this isn't us against them against you. This is we as parents. It's us against them, our kids, because we're trying to raise our children in a healthy and safe environment. So I think what we need to maintain is the commonality that we're all adults, we all have children, and we all have love for our children. And we need to come together as a group and figure out what's best for everybody involved.
Why do we need to go in this direction? No one here, I can't imagine, and if they would, shame on you. If somebody would say, get them out of here, I don't want them here, they don't belong in my school, I don't want them using any bathroom. Nobody's going to say that. But everybody's going to say, don't put my child in a situation that they don't want to be in. I'm not saying these people are going to rampantly run around, oh, let me look this, let me do this, let me look under the stall. No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think there may be an inadvertent glance, look. Teenage girls, specifically, don't want to be in that situation. I know. I've got one. They don't want to be in that situation. Why do you want to put them in it? When there's a simple solution. Keep it simple.
Quickly, I just wanted to identify the fact that in the last meeting, there was a comment made by one of the directors here that, I'm paraphrasing, but while everybody here had the opportunity to review this new policy or old policy, whatever you guys want to spin it as, but you all had an opportunity to review the communication that was sent out to the parents roughly 3 weeks ago. However, that feedback that was provided to you, Dr. Miller, was not incorporated, and what was ultimately sent out was different from what the board members saw. I want to make that point. That's from what I understand. Most importantly, I can tell you this for a fact, the majority of the folks here this evening are here to hope. I didn't see anything on the agenda right now, and I'm praying to God there is something, but along the lines of a discussion for an opt-in letter. Very similar to the previous speaker here, I would like an opportunity to speak as a parent of these students, okay, and voice my opinion as a parent and their well-being. In other words, I want the opportunity to say yes or no to whether or not I want my kids to be in a shower with someone of the opposite biological sex. That would be in the form of an opt-in letter, very simple, very similar to a permission slip. You guys are very accustomed to that, and I don't think that it's unreasonable. I'm hoping that somebody here makes that motion tonight, and you guys vote on it, and we get this done once and for all. I do believe that if you offer up an opt-in letter, that this can be mitigated very easily and quickly. Thank you.
Excuse me, Dr. Banyas. Before we move on from board business, I had one item to add, if you don't mind. I will pass these down the way. I am passing out right now a form that is called opt-in form, and the title of it is opt-in form to permit your students to utilize multi-user school restrooms, locker rooms, and overnight accommodations during school-sponsored activities. I had provided this to Dr. Banyas and the leadership team over the weekend for placement on the meeting, but it was recommended that I did not, so therefore I am bringing it up myself. I'm kindly asking for your consideration of this opt-out form to ensure every student in our school and every parent have their rights protected in this time of uncertainty as we consider what our written policy will be going forward. After further review of the board meeting 2 weeks ago, multiple times I watched it, and following personal discussions that I have had with other community members, including students, it became more clear that as a board, we are in a difficult legal and ethical situation for several reasons. Expectations of bodily privacy in restrooms and locker rooms were changed without notification to students, parents, and the board. When a letter was eventually sent out, many people did not understand the letter that Dr. Miller sent home to the community. They thought it meant that students who felt uncomfortable using restrooms with students of the same biological sex would have the option of using unisex restrooms if they'd prefer that. They did not know it meant the opposite, that some children could use any restroom they wanted in the school, the girls' room, the boys' room, and the unisex restrooms. The parents and students did not understand the unisex restrooms were actually provided as the only alternative for those uncomfortable using multi-user restrooms with members of the opposite biological sex. Students do not clearly understand that unisex restrooms are the only option for them if they want to maintain their expectation of privacy from members of the opposite biological sex in restrooms and locker rooms. Parents have a right to the upbringing of their children and to advocate for the needs of their children in the school environment, especially when bodily privacy is concerned, as it is here. And we need their feedback on this issue to help us make an informed decision on how we should proceed. As legal minors, students have a right to be advocated for by their parents, especially since they may be afraid to have an opinion of a need for bodily privacy that they are afraid to verbalize or share with school officials. This issue is difficult for many students, parents, and even those of us on this board to discuss. But we, as a board, need to be leaders, not shy away from our responsibilities out of fear. Our inaction is in itself an action. Here, not voting for an opt-in as an action to keep parents and students in the dark as much as possible. We need to do our due diligence and ensure that there is no question that every parent and child has the knowledge that expectations of privacy in restrooms and locker rooms has drastically changed, and that they have a voice to let us know whether their children will need accommodations to protect their bodily privacy expectations or whether they are okay with the changed privacy expectations. We, as representatives of this community, have a duty to act to ensure parents have clear information and a convenient means to have their voice heard. We have a duty to ensure their expectations of students' bodily privacy aren't violated during this time where we are considering what written policy we will eventually, someday, enact. We currently have an administrative policy that is in place with possible consequence to this district if accommodations are inadequate to satisfy PA code for restroom facilities as well as civil rights privacy laws. This opt-in form does not reverse the current practice for transgender students to use the girls', boys', or unisex restrooms at their discretion. The opt-in form is intended to ensure that parents are provided an opportunity to have a say in the legal rights to privacy on behalf of their own minor students. The opt-in form is also intended to provide us with information from the community that will be helpful to let us know how to move forward with a written policy and the number of facilities that will be needed to reasonably and legally accommodate the needs for all of our students. Those who do not opt in must be provided the space to maintain their expectation of privacy, free from the presence of members of the opposite sex. Our current numbers of accommodations are not nearly enough. We all should vote for this, regardless of whether we think biological sex is the reason we should have 2 different locker rooms, or if we think that students who don't identify with their biological sex should get to use any of the boys, girls, and the unisex restrooms they'd like, or even if you're not sure. We are obligated to address all of the concerns for all students to ensure a right to privacy and a safe and meaningful learning environment for everyone. This opt-in is an easy-to-understand, one-page document that gives us critical information on how we should proceed in the future. I now make a motion to have this opt-in form be considered by the board. Would anyone please oblige me to second it?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I move that we table it. It's exceptional. It's absolutely exceptional that a board member with, how many years' experience, Ms. Dawson? How many years' experience? They would make such a...
Table motion does not require discussion, correct?
Your agenda is to grandstand for the cameras. No. You went completely out of...
That's what you did.
Guys, you had your turn. This is our meeting now. We don't have a specific policy in place, but I'll acknowledge we have a practice. That practice has worked well for us thus far. There are a lot of concerns.
Nobody knew what the policy was.
This has been going on for 2.5 years. Where's the policy? Where is it? There is no policy.
Okay, please. Mr. Lyons?
I was not aware of it.
Okay, please. You will all have another opportunity to speak.
The kids did not know.
We've received...
Mr. Lyons, it's best if you speak with the board. This is
We've
our
received...
discussion, not the discussion for them.
Really? Because
Really.
I saw a lot of comments going the other way just a second ago, Dr. Banyas, that didn't go pressed by you. So as I said, I have a motion to table this motion.
We have a motion to table.
Okay, excuse me. Mr. Clare.
Apparently not.
Second.
We have a motion to table this, which has been seconded.
Procedurally.
Okay. Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Kashani?
Yes.
Ms. Dawson?
No.
Dr. Banyas?
No.
Mr. Stegman?
Could you please repeat what we're voting on?
We're voting, Mr. Stegman, we're voting on Mr. Lyons' motion, seconded by Mr. Sundo, to table Ms. Dawson's motion for an opt-in form. So the motion is to table it, to defer it. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Goebel?
Yes.
Ms. Johnston?
No.
Mr. DiTullio?
No.
Mr. Sundo?
Yes.
That's 5 yeses and 4 nos.
Motion's tabled.
And now we have a great opportunity to do something, and you table it. I'm frustrated. And I think I speak for most people here that that's the problem. It's not a he versus she. It's not a this is what we should do. We don't want to segregate anybody. We don't want anybody hurt in this situation. We want everyone to thrive. But you guys didn't give us a chance.
Ms. Dawson, I'm just coming up here to say thank you. That took a lot of work and sacrifice this weekend to put something together of that magnitude. There's no doubt you addressed the points poignantly, and again, the courage that you just displayed and the battle that you're about to go under. Again, thank you so much for being that representative for us on this board. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Omar Gonzalez Pagan. I'm a staff attorney for Lambda Legal and the legal representative of 3 students in this district and this high school. I'm here to first commend the school district for having a practice in place that is in keeping with the law. It is in keeping with Title IX, it is in keeping with the equal protection of our Constitution, and it is in keeping with the very recognized interpretation of the federal laws by the Department of Justice, the Department of Education, the EEOC, that segregating students on the basis of gender identity or not allowing them access to the facilities in accordance with their gender identity is sex discrimination. And I hope that the board just rejects any calls to reverse what is a sound and legal practice. What it also sets you up for legal liability and loss of federal funds. And there's no question about that. The Arcadia School District in California was an action of enforcement by the Department of Education. Illinois School District 211 was recently the subject of enforcement about this very issue by the Department of Education. These are not idle threats from me or from the Department of Education. These are the clear federal mandates that this school board and the school district needs to follow.
I just want to say that Title IX does not require schools to eliminate distinct facilities for boys and girls. So there is some confusion, obviously, by council. It actually recognizes that there are privacy and safety concerns justifying the distinctions. Title IX allows schools to, quote, provide separate toilet, locker room, and shower facilities on the basis of sex, end quote, without committing sex discrimination.
I, too, am a lawyer. I don't know the gentleman's name. I did not catch it. But I would love to see one citation of a district court case that supports the legal position that he is advancing this evening, because it does not exist. There are cases that have gone before the Office of Civil Rights on administrative hearings, but there is no case law, and I would love to see the citation that supports his position. In fact, in the Third Circuit, which I brought up to this board before, there is Johnson versus the University of Pittsburgh, which stands for the proposition directly opposed to what this gentleman suggested this evening. I commend Ms. Dawson's efforts this evening, and I'd just like to remind the board that a failure to make a decision is still a decision. This board has had 2 months to determine whether the current restroom and locker room practice is going to be this board's policy. To continue to further delay in adopting a formal policy is grossly unfair to the children and the families of this community. I would ask you respectfully to adopt a policy as soon as possible, as I did nearly 2 months ago, so that there is clarity in this district as to how we're all to raise our children and under what circumstances.
It's about all the students, all of them, but giving them all the chance to live and go to school and not be afraid. I am a parent of a child with special needs. Does that mean when he struggles in class that the entire curriculum is dropped for the rest of the students to fit my child? No. It means that accommodations were put in place to cover him, but the rest of the students stayed right where they needed to be as well. It's about covering all the students. all of them, but not putting any of them in a place where any of them are uncomfortable, where any of them have to go into a restroom for fear of their own privacy being robbed because they feel uncomfortable. It's not about raising bigotry. It's not. But it's about increasing sensitivity for each other. When you've got a child that's in a wheelchair, you don't put ramps in everywhere and force the whole rest of the students not to use the stairs. No, you make the necessary adjustments to fit every student right where they are. I commend your bravery. I commend you, because it doesn't seem like anybody else on this board will back what is right for the students. And I personally thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
We have to put this in writing, as difficult as it is, and I think it's important to have dialogue of respect and accommodation, but I really wish that we wouldn't have tabled that discussion for tonight, and I thank Ms. Dawson, and I thank you guys for hearing us tonight.
I do. Ms. Dawson, thank you. That was not easy what you did, and we appreciate it. To summarize, I don't think anybody here has an issue with what these kids are doing. We don't, okay? I applaud you for what you're doing. I have 2 teenage daughters. I have a 19-year-old son in college and a son in 4th grade who's 10. I know this is a very difficult thing for you. It's difficult to be a teenager in this world with the stress and the pressure. Let's get together and let's discuss this issue. Let's get together and brainstorm the multitude of decisions that we can make in this situation to accommodate every single student so that not one student feels uncomfortable when they use the bathroom or the locker. You put the cart before you put the horse. You made the decision on your own. You didn't put it out there for the parents. The email that we got was very misleading. And now we're in a situation where everybody's arguing and upset. If it would have been handled better by the board, and parents would have been involved, and we could have gotten education from the professionals that work with people in this situation, listen to the parents, everybody could have come together. So these kids wouldn't have to go through what they're going through, and the other children wouldn't have to go through what they're going through. So now we're in a situation where people are upset and divided because I'm feeling personally frustrated with the board for not opening this up for discussion and doing as you've always done since my oldest son was here.
Please, 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 and if in any way I said anything that offended you or made you feel like I was singling you out, I apologize wholeheartedly. And as I said before, if any of my children were transgender, I would love them and I would do just what your wonderful dad is doing right now. It's not about you. It's about our own kids that want to feel the same thing you guys are feeling with privacy. That's all this is.
Student matter. Thank you for all attending and for speaking.